Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we are seeing a return to summer conditions over the next few days, with it looking fairly bone dry and with temperatures widely in the high teens to low 20s, above average for the time of year and more reminiscent of what we'd have seen during the summer months. Now, the biggest thing with this warmer spell that is coming up is the huge contrast to the conditions we saw only a few days ago. There's been lots of chat over autumn has probably arrived. We're on our way to winter. Central heating, coats, all of these sort of things. That is going to go out the window the next few days as we do go back to t-shirt and shorts weather, with temperatures widely, as I said, high teens to low 20s, all the way from southern England up to northern Scotland. Now, as we look into the longer range, that does look like it could dominate for much of the next 7 to 10 days. Beyond that, of course, there is inevitable uncertainty, but the sort of medium-term forecast is looking like a continuation of those warmer, dry conditions, which is a real positive. So do remember, if you enjoy videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, as we start on the live radar, there is bits and bobs of rain around today, remnants really of the larger weather front that we had moving in through yesterday, and that was shifting that wind to more of a westerly, which has started to bring in that milder air. But areas in the north and west have seen bits of rain. But as we head through Saturday night into Sunday, it will slowly peter out and disintegrate away. Now, for areas that have been dry today, with those warmer air masses, we've seen widely high teens, and some areas have even gone into the 20s through today. I think the top temperature I've seen is 21 degrees, and that's looked like it could be fairly consistently the top temperature over the next few days, maybe even slightly higher. 22 or 23 is possible into the middle of next week. You can see it across much of Central and Eastern Europe. That's where all the cold air is. And it has developed quite a large area of low pressure that is bringing some really quite heavy rain and flooding in these regions. But for us, we've got high pressure extending in from the Azores, and it is turning, as I said, a lot drier over the next couple of days. Now, do look at the temperatures around 7 p.m. this evening. Look at that, something we've not seen since early on this week, Monday, Tuesday time. Big oranges developing as we do see those temperatures widely high teens to low 20s. And the thing is, it's not just the far south and east. This time of year, we sometimes get carried away with warm conditions in the south and east from a little plume of heat up from Europe. And for many areas in the north and west, it's cold, wet and miserable, autumnal. The big thing about this is not only, yes, it is warm and dry, it's warm and dry for all the way, as I said, from the southern tip of England to the northern tip of Scotland. Everywhere is looking warm and dry the next 5 to 7 days. Now, if you go over to the UKV and have a look at the latest, you can see as we headed through Saturday, bits and bobs of rain, and that weather front really disintegrating away over the next 24 hours. And as we head into Sunday, there is again still bits of rain along that weather front, but it is slowly petering out, and for most it will be dry. The only big issue with that weather front probably will be the little remnants of rain and the thicker cloud associated with it. But as we head through Sunday evening into Monday, that clears, and look at Monday. It's a bone dry day, a little bit of precipitation right to the top left of the screen, but that's nowhere near land. And you see for all, it is dry with mixed levels of sunshine. Definitely more central eastern areas towards the centre of the high, more sunny conditions, but everywhere has the chance of seeing sunnier spells. And as I said, it is dry. That's the important bit. As we head into Tuesday, it's a similar story, bone dry, more sunshine, and into Wednesday, look at that, a very similar story, even more sunshine developing, and the same can be said for Thursday as well. So you can see, I'm not exaggerating, it is looking bone dry and stunning this week. Yes, we're not seeing mid to high 20s. It's not going to be heatwave conditions. It's not going to be oppressive. It's just going to be warm and dry. Perfect mid to late September conditions. The last kind of hurrah of summer, I think. There is the chance late September, early October, we can see similar conditions or maybe even warmer. But the sort of under higher pressure. This is the kind of the last opportunity we get, because as we head for October, the chances of an inversion taking place increase as we start to see those colder air masses aloft. And yeah, it means it gets increasingly difficult to see anything remotely warm without a big southerly unstable plume, which is a possibility, and that's why we get those events called Indian summers in October and November. That's when we see a big southerly plume. But these sort of homegrown warmth, we see average to above average air masses, strong sunshine. We're kind of seeing the last remnants of that for this year. If you look at the pressure, you can see high pressure sat right over the top of us. Isobars hardly showing on the screen, and that's because it's high pressure, completely spread out, so very light winds and just generally very warm. And you can see upper air temperatures into the middle of next week, widely 10 to 12 degrees. So not ridiculous, not anything, I said heat wave levels, but average to above average for all. And yeah, looking really quite stunning. Do look at the max temperatures. These are, of course, what actually matters. You can see through this afternoon forecasting 18 or 19 degrees, but I've seen we got to 21. So even the models are underdoing it slightly at this stage. As we head into Sunday, temperatures slightly higher, 19, 20, 21. Wouldn't be surprised to see 22 or 23 in the best spots. And the same could be said for Monday. Again, getting up into the high teens or low 20s into Tuesday, where those low 20s extend all the way to Scotland. Look at that, northern Scotland, north coast, 22 degrees, and then seeing 21 all the way towards the south coast. And the same can be said for Wednesday. Again, even a 23, maybe 24, or even a chance of a 25 developing there. So yes, it looks really quite nice this upcoming week. It's nothing out of the world. It's nothing amazing, but it is pretty much the best conditions we can get for the second half of September. It really can't get much better than this without kind of a record-breaking southerly plume or something that could bring risk of storms and may be pretty oppressive. This is, as I said, perfect conditions. I can't kind of explain it any better than that. Now, if you look at the longer range, see how long these conditions could last, you can see high pressure is building in at the moment, but it's not fully dominating. That's why we still have bits and bobs of rain and cloud over the next 24 hours. But by Monday and Tuesday, high pressure completely dominates, and it dominates for all of next week. There is a small little trough of low pressure towards western France that could nudge northwards maybe into next weekend, but we'll have to wait and see for that. At the moment, not really developing it much, because you see slightly lower pressure and you see slightly lighter colours indicating a trough is developing there, but nothing too much comes of it. And eventually it forms into a larger low pressure system towards Italy and the Mediterranean, so it doesn't really affect us. Beyond day 10, high pressure continues to dominate, but eventually we see some lower pressure and typical more of a flat westerly that we kind of expect to see during the autumn, with the jet stream starting to really power up in off the Atlantic. But again, right towards the extended range, the last couple of days of September. For the sort of foreseeable future, I must say it is looking pretty good indeed. Now, if you compare to the latest GM, broadly very similar. High pressure building in. Look at that really strong area of high pressure. And you can see it dominates for all of next week, all the way into next weekend. Again, that low just to our southwest could nudge in maybe a few showers and storms, but all the way to day 10, it looks pretty decent before eventually low pressure starts to push in off the Atlantic. And if we do zoom in to the United Kingdom, if we have a look at the accumulated precipitation, you can see bar from that low pressure system that arrived right at the end of the run, you can see all the way through much of next working week, it is fairly bone dry. Most areas single digits in terms of precipitation over the next week. Some areas a little bit higher, but again, most of that rainfall is falling overnight tonight. So yeah, really quite pleasant indeed. If you compare to the ECMWF, high pressure building in, looking stunning for all of next week. Again, that trough is there, doesn't do much, and then right towards day 10, we do see that westerly flow return, but still high pressure is fairly strong, so I wouldn't be surprised if low pressure systems didn't really move through particularly cleanly and got deflected away quite quickly. We'll have to wait and see in that sort of scenario. One thing that is cropping up a little bit on these runs is some extratropical systems. You can see at these small but deep areas of low pressure that do develop in the North Atlantic. Again, coming from sort of development further south, entering into the North Atlantic, getting whipped up by the jet stream, they could cause some issues in the longer term. But again, that's something that we can't really forecast too well, since most of these systems haven't even properly developed yet. Down in the mid-Atlantic towards the Caribbean, they're not developed, so it's almost impossible to forecast it at this time frame. But it is just something to keep a close eye on. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you can see how amazing it looks. The next week or so, generally warm and dry again. That's kind of the headline. Briefly cooler patch of air moving through in the next next sort of day or so, and that's why I think the proper warmth won't really arrive till Monday to Tuesday. But you can see a little dip in those upper air temperatures, and that's associated with that weather front moving through at the moment. Again, nothing really amazing. It's a couple of degrees movement, and you can see it is dry, especially in the south and the east. You can see the first precipitation spikes emerge in 6 days' time, and even then, very infrequent and very small. It does start to pick up in around 10 days' time. But if we're talking about the next rainfall in autumn in 10 days' time, that is pretty amazing indeed. Sometimes during the autumn, and generally this time of year, we'll be seeing rain every single day, and we might get 1 day off rain every week or two. Here, it looks like for the next week to 10 days, we're seeing no rain at all, or a trace. And again, upper air temperatures around 3 to 5 degrees above average. You can see, as I said at the start of the video, a bit of wobbling in the longer term with some colder runs, some higher precipitation runs. That's expected, of course, with uncertainty. And of course, most likely those runs are powering up the jet stream. That is going to happen at some point. We will see a very unsettled, stormy spell. It always happens. Every time of year we see a power up, we'll just have to wait and see when that does occur, and whether it's kind of a trend setter. Is it a short spell, a few days, a week, or longer, or for the whole autumn? Because that can happen as well. When we see those really, really stormy autumns, we see many named storms. That is the sort of pattern we can see. Now, do you finally, compared to the ECMWF ensembles, it is pretty much exactly the same. A little bit more precipitation in around 5, 6, 7 days' time. That's expected with more ensemble members. A little bit more precipitation in the next 24 hours. Again, remnants of that weather front, but again, very low amounts, a couple of millimetres at most. But again, looking 3 to 5 degrees above average and pretty dry for the next week, maybe longer. But again, more uncertainty as we do progress into the final 10 days or so of September. So it is looking pretty exemplary for the second half of September. Do make sure you can go out and enjoy it this week. Of course, it's not going to last all too long. We are in autumn now. We're on that slow descent towards winter. Come late October, early November, we'll probably be 10, 12 degrees, raining most days. So yeah, 20 degrees, dry. That is what majority of people will be wishing for in a few weeks' time. And of course, these sort of conditions after sort of October time, almost impossible to see until about April. So do cherish them, do enjoy them. Again, not record breaking, nothing ridiculous, no heat wave, but definitely amazing conditions for the time of year. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.